Welcome to the Wheats on Your Mind podcast. My name is Aaron Harries. Wheats on Your Mind is brought to you by the Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. On this episode of the podcast, our guest is Alicia Boor. Farming is one of the most demanding and unpredictable professions, often marked by long hours, physical labor, constant pressures of weather, market fluctuations, and rising production costs. For many in agriculture, these challenges can lead to significant stress that, when left unaddressed, can negatively impact mental and physical health. Seeking help is crucial to breaking the stigma, fostering resilience, and ensuring farmers have the tools and support to weather their unique challenges and maintain their overall health and well-being. K-State Research and Extension has a stress and resiliency team that provides educational information about stress management, and resiliency, or one's ability to adapt positively to difficult experiences. Alicia Boor is an agriculture and natural resources agent in the Cottonwood District in Kansas, which includes Barton and Nellis counties, for K-State Research and Extension, and she is part of that stress and resiliency team. Alicia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about farm stress and why it can be kind of different from other industries.
Well, there's several different reasons. First of all, most of the time a farmer is by themselves, and that by being by yourself, you give yourself more time to think in your head. And if your thoughts are of stress and what am I going to do to make ends meet, or how can I solve this problem, it can escalate because you don't have anybody either to distract you or to be able to talk to you and help you solve those problems. Also, farmers just are resilient on their own being. You can't be a farmer and not be able to be resilient. So most farmers want to be able to do everything. I can do this myself. I can solve it myself. And so they have a much harder time asking for help when they need to get help, because that's not what a farmer does. You get the job done and you are able to persevere through anything. And so when it comes to mental health, they try to do the same that way.
So when you look at the agriculture industry, not only in Kansas but nationwide, how bad is the mental health situation in terms of suicide rates and things like that?
In Kansas is ranked number 17th in the nation for suicide. And so that is a pretty high number. It is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 44 in our state. Farmers are more prone to suicide than almost any other profession out there.
Wow, I've read that before. It's even right up there with the suicide rate for military personnel, and something that
Correct.
Certainly needs to be addressed. So there are different drivers of that farm stress. As you mentioned, some of those are economic, some of those are environmental, the weather which we would like to control but cannot. Living in rural areas, you said, though, that's kind of one of the bigger factors that differentiates things, and not being around maybe support groups as much as others are.
Correct. Trying to find somebody to go talk to in rural communities is very difficult. You don't have as many mental health centers. Also, there's a lot of people in small towns that don't want their vehicle outside of the mental health center. I was told by a counselor up in Hayes that they will see people in our Great Bend office more often because they don't want their truck outside of the center that is here in Great Bend. They would rather drive an hour or 2 hours to be able to go talk to somebody. And that's just the general population, not just farming, but goes to show a lot of people just do not want other people to know I'm seeking help. And that's one of the things that Stress and Resiliency, our team, is trying to break the stigma of saying it's okay to go talk to somebody. Just like you go see your doctor, you need to go see your doctor to help with your mental health as well.
Yeah, that stigma is pretty tough to overcome in this issue, even beyond agriculture. So you mentioned, it's okay to seek help. So what are the other approaches that you use to kind of get past that stigma and say it's okay to seek out help?
One thing is just having the conversation, talking about it with people, talking to your friends about, well, when I saw my counselor last week, this is what we talked about, or talking to strangers. If you're having a conversation with people, if you are getting this from your seeing your counselor, open up and talk about it. The more people talk about that it's okay to go see a counselor, or it's okay to have mental health struggles and be working through them, the more people are going to get used to hearing about it, which means it's going to be more of a mainstream thing.
Just as some of the stressors in agriculture are unique to our industry, I suppose some of the signs, the warning signs of suicide and mental health issues are a little bit different. What should people be looking for if they're concerned about a loved one?
If you're concerned about a loved one, some of the bigger ones is, if somebody is changing their habit, if you are talking to somebody and say like they used to, meet at the co-op every Monday morning for a cup of coffee before the start of the week, and all of a sudden they stop coming, or they used to be very, very talkative and now they're very quiet. Used to be a leader, say like somebody's a leader of their church or their 4-H club, and they start skipping meetings, or they start not attending or giving up those things that they used to do. In anywhere here in Kansas, high school football is a huge thing. So if you know somebody who has never missed a high school football game, they're on the booster club, they're very supportive, and they stop coming, they stop attending. Those things are really big indicators that something may be wrong. Also talking about struggles, or, even talking about suicide, wanting to die, wanting it all to end. If you hear somebody talking about suicide, every time you need to take it seriously, where you need to be asking them, do you need to talk to somebody? Are you thinking or contemplating about suicide? And by talking about it, you are not going to make somebody go die by suicide. Actually, research has shown that by talking and asking the question, do you feel like you are suicidal? That actually helps people open up, and it will reduce the chance of them dying by suicide.
Very interesting. So, yeah, don't be afraid to ask that question, I guess is the point.
Correct.
Well, before we get into some resources available, let's talk a little bit about your team, the Stress and Resiliency team with K-State Research and Extension. How did that come about?
Back in 2019, we have all of us agents go to Manhattan every year in October for our annual conference. And there are 4 different major disciplines in extension. You have myself, which is an agriculture and natural resource agent. And then you have our FACS, Family and Consumer Sciences, which is your how to take care of yourself, your budgeting, your healthy and nutritious food, exercise, stuff like that. You also have our great 4-H agents that run our 4-H programs around the state. And then we have community development, which is to help with the community needs to increase the wellness in our community. All of us go, and we usually work, like I work mainly with other ag agents when I do programming or look at the needs of our community. Well, we decided in 2019 to form transdisciplinary teams. That means you work across the board, and it doesn't matter what your normal point of interest is, you can work with anybody. One of the ones that they decided was important was originally it was farm stress, because we had recognized that farm stress was something that needed to be addressed in the state. Well, of course, 2020 hit, and everybody knows what happened in 2020, and everybody is stressed. So we changed it over to stress and resiliency, and now try to approach everybody. It does not matter what your job title is or what you do. Stress and knowing how to be resilient in the face of stress is important. So we have several different programs that we are trained to do across the state. We have, first of all, QPR, which is a suicide prevention training. It's called Question, Persuade, Refer. And it's similar to CPR, what you would do with CPR. If enough people know how to keep somebody's heart beating until the professionals get there, you can save a life. In that vein, if enough people know how to recognize signs of extreme stress and suicidal tendencies, we can save a life by asking the correct questions and getting the people to the help that they need. We're not asking you to be the therapist. We're asking you to be able to recognize the signs to help get them to the help that they need. Michigan State has a farm stress program. We have people that are trained in that, and that is specifically for the agriculture sector to talk to producers about stress, how to handle stress, how to recognize signs in their buddies, to, once again, ask the questions if you feel that they need to seek help, professional help, how to ask those questions, and then also how to be resilient on your own farm and with yourself, how to have good behaviors to prevent getting to the point that you need help. Not that needing help is bad, but sometimes you can help yourself be resilient so that you can keep going. Also have mental health first aid, and we have it for adults and for children. That is a longer program. It's about 8 hours for a day. And so that one goes more in depth into all of the different things. But if you go to our website, which is ksre.kstate.edu, and search for stress management, it will pull up our stress and resiliency team. And through that, you can find which team members may be in your community. You can also contact the leadership team, which I am a part of. And if you don't want one of the programs that we say that we have, we also can tailor programs a little bit more to what you need. We have stress programs anywhere from a 15-minute one that is in, out, that I use a lot over a lunch period when we're talking to farmers, all the way up to that 8-hour mental health first aid. So if you don't see exactly what you're thinking may be good, get a hold of us and we'd be happy to help make one happen for whatever your program's needs are.
Give us an example of the wide range of audiences I imagine you give those programs to.
We have given the program to a couple of the like Soybean Commission, the Corn Commission. Just the short and sweet programs have been towards, like I said, lunch hours with producers at our meetings, at our normal extension meetings that we host across the state. We've went into classrooms and discussed a QPR with teachers and had them asked to be trained on it. One group that I taught a couple years ago was bankers, the agriculture lenders, so that they could recognize the signs, because a lot of producers go in and talk to their lender, and that's where they may open up over some of the strains of financial stress, and the banker, if they're trained on recognizing the signs, can help get them help or help notify somebody that they may need help.
Yeah, seeking help, the important part. And I suppose there are some barriers still in rural areas to getting that help. We live in a day and age, fortunately, where technology gives us some benefits. Are there still some challenges? I mean, if you're in a very rural area and not knowing which way to reach out?
There are some challenges, but thankfully, there's not a lot of good things that came out of COVID, but one of the great things that came out of COVID was the increase in telehealth. There is a BetterHelp and it is Talkspace that are online mental health resources where they will match you with somebody, and you can be feeding your cows in your tractor talking to a counselor on your phone. Mm-hmm. I would say the one challenge with that is, depending on how good your internet access is, that may provide a challenge, but you do have options, and also local places such as High Plains Mental Health Center. They can either try for telehealth, or some of those, such as High Plains, goes to each of the smaller communities and will have sessions maybe at the local library or at another nondescript place, so that, once again, your truck isn't outside of a mental health facility. It's just you're at the library. By calling those centers and asking and saying, I can't get to you, do you have options? You may be able to find a place that can suit your needs.
So you don't have to have that publicly visible. You've got a few options out there. And of course, the new 988 number, I guess, is also another option that was recently created in the state.
988 is a fantastic resource. I tell people you do not have to be actively suicidal to call them. You can call them, and if you are trying to help your friend, you can call them and say, I am trying to help my friend. I think that they need help. Can you talk me through this? And they will stay on the line and talk with you. You can call them and say, I'm not suicidal, but I'm struggling right now, and I think I need help. And they are trained to be able to help you. I do tell everybody that it goes off of your phone number. They will route you to a local area so that if you do need physical help, they can get you that physical help. But if you have like I have a 316 number and a 620 area code where I live just because I had moved here. You need to tell them where you are if your area code of your phone number does not match where you are. But other than that, they can talk to you about what you need. And then if you need to find a therapist, they can help get you to that point. But like I said, they can also just talk to you and help you kind of start figuring out what you need to do. If you are not comfortable calling, you can also text 988, and 988, they have people that text back. So there's a lot of people out there that just don't want to call and don't want to talk to somebody. By texting them, you can still have that conversation.
Yeah, what a great way to do that, a great resource for removing some of those barriers that people might feel are awkward to doing that. We've talked about some of these stressors, and financial being a big one. You know, farmers can really feel that they've reached the limit there because of a corner they're into. How can a group like Kansas Farm Management Association help out?
Kansas Farm Management Association is a fantastic resource that K-State has available for farmers in our area. By calling them and just talking to them, a lot of times they can help you with different resources. They have lawyers on staff that can help you with legal matters. They have facilitators that are available to help work out. One example would be farm transition. Trying to facilitate a farm transition is a huge thing sometimes. And so by bringing in a facilitator, that can help smooth the process and make it a little bit easier so that you still want to eat Thanksgiving dinner with your family instead of just wanting to be done with them. They also have access to economists and financial advisors, and it is all on a sliding scale. So it's going to be affordable for anybody. So if somebody is struggling financially and trying to figure out how they can make ends meet, that is a fantastic resource to just call them, tell them what's going on, and listen to them, and they can help you out.
Yeah, help you lighten out that burden. And so addressing those stressors is one thing. You mentioned before about good behaviors. Can you explain what those are?
Some of them are just good behaviors that you can do anywhere. One of them is just deep breaths and try to have a calming breath. There's one is called box breathing, where you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts, you breathe out for 4 counts, and you hold for 4 counts. Doing something like that to regulate your breathing can calm your mind and calm yourself. Also, just physical movement. And I realize most farmers do a lot of physical work, but if you're stressed, just taking a 15-minute walk. Set a timer on your phone, walk 7 minutes one way, turn around, walk back. It's only 15 minutes out of your day. And I will say that one's my favorite one. Is I'm a walker. And so just getting out into the sunshine and listening to my favorite podcast is a way that I can relax. Talking with somebody, making a point, even if sometimes you don't feel like going out and seeing your friends, but 9 times out of 10, when you actually make that effort to go out and see your friends, you're going to feel better when you're done. So just see if somebody can go get a cup of coffee or a pop or something like that, and just be around people that are in your support system. Building a support system of people that matter to you, family members, close friends, clergy, professionals, having a strong support system will also help you be able to be more resilient, because when you have hard times, you have people you trust that you feel that you can talk to. And just being willing to talk, even if it's uncomfortable to talk about the mental health portion of your life. The more you talk about it, the better it goes. And so being able to take that leap and say, hey, I'm worried about this, or I'm struggling with this issue, or along those lines, being able to talk about it will be able to help you talk more about it in the future. So knowing when you are stressed and needing to talk, even if it's to a friend or a professional, either way, that first step is important.
That's good advice, especially when we're in a long winter like the one we are. It's tough to reach out sometimes, but that's important to do.
Yes.
Do you have any numbers you can tell us, even though the program is relatively new, what kind of outreach you've had and maybe how that can multiply through different groups?
Certainly, yeah. Our QPR program back in 2023, which has been a year and a half ago, we were able to have 13 of our QPR sessions, and we reached 253 participants through that. So that is 253 more people that understand how to recognize the signs of suicide and how to get people help. Every year we're growing, and I have already given 2 different programs this year already and reached several people, and that's just the very beginning of the year. So we are starting to get a lot more people that are interested in listening and learning about mental health.
And hopefully those people are sharing that and passing that on to other groups. Great to hear that. Well, Alicia, this is some great information that's very helpful, and thank you to your team for doing what you do. Remind us again of a website or two here that people can go if they want to have a program at a meeting that they're having, or if they need to seek help. What are some of those resources?
Certainly. Once again, you could go online and go to ksre.kstate.edu and search for stress management. You can also Google KSRE stress management, and it will be the first one that shows up. At least it is on mine. You can get a hold of me specifically, and I can route you to where you would need to be. Like I said, I'm a leader of the Stress and Resiliency team, and my email is B as in boy, OOR @ksu.edu, and I would be happy to help.
Wonderful. Alicia, thanks for sharing. Keep up the good work. Again, that's Alicia Boor. She is with K-State Research and Extension's Stress and Resiliency team. She is out of Great Bend, but has a number of resources that are available statewide. Thank you to Alicia Boor with K-State Research and Extension, their Stress and Resiliency team, for joining me on this episode of the podcast. If you have any more questions about this episode or would like to suggest ideas for a future episode, please email us at kswheat@kswheat.com. If you have questions about mental health or know of someone who is dealing with mental health issues, don't forget to dial 988, resources to help you or your friends. I'm Aaron Harries. Thanks for listening.